this is Sierra Leone, where we stand here now is the Sierra Leone side of the border. If you go beyond this point, is the Guinean side. But this is the disputed area. There has been claim from the Guinea point of view that once you get beyond this point, going over to that stretch is a part of Guinea. But as you can see evidence of normal business. We don't know whether this is oil or fuel or palm oil. You see the drums all over. That shows that there is some huge business across on both sides. Our desire really is to get onto the other side, but there is no boat on this end to take us across. We still want to explore the possibilities of getting to the other side to be able to talk to the security people, to talk to ordinary people to see what's going on.
As you all know, this is the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone. We have been following reports of Yenga. We all know that Yenga has been a disputed boundary between Sierra Leone and Guinea. And so, quite recently, 2 weeks or so ago, when news broke out in social media that Guinean soldiers came back on this border trying to have control over it again, we are very much concerned. We even had some young people going on social media giving government ultimatum, you know. So we are very much worried. So we wanted to come and see what is happening here. We wanted to actually get a feel of the entire situation. I mean, this is a fact-finding mission that we have embarked on. From what we have seen, it's very clear here that people have to understand that there is this water. This is the river, very big river, that actually separates Guinea and Sierra Leone. And so one has to use a boat to cross over to Guinea. So as you can see, over there is Guinea. Over there is Guinea. So I presume that people we are seeing from that end, very close to here, are Guineans. And over there, if you turn your camera over there, you see Sierra Leoneans. We met some young people around that area. It's like both parties are looking at each other, you know, from a very short distance. Sierra Leoneans are over there. Very few of them. I'm sure most of them are bike riders, business people. Yes, over there you see also Guinean people. There are women and men as well. So we wanted to actually, like you heard from my colleague, we wanted to have an opportunity to go across so that we'll be able to talk to people in that from that part of the isle. Majority of the people I've seen from across the river are people in civilian dress, I should say. But we wanted to have an opportunity. So the problem we have now is that this border has been closed. You know, when Corona was really ravaging these two countries, people had to close their borders. So Guinea closed the border, Sierra Leone did as well. But of course, Sierra Leone had long opened their border, to Guinea. But unfortunately, this side remains closed, and that is the problem. As you can see, all of these containers are, if you like, call them merchandise. They are set to go across Guinea.
Evidence of trade.
Yeah. Exactly. So there is a clear evidence of trade. From the far end there, you see these jerry cans. Normally, people call them 5 gallons.
Butter.
Yeah, butter. Around 5 gallons. There are several of them over there. They are set. I'm sure they have been stopped. I am not merely presuming. We have not spoken to anybody here.
And there's evidence also across.
Yes, but those people are actually waiting. They are waiting to take their goods across to Conakry. But then, as you can see, there is no activity here. We expect by now that people will be crossing from both ends to do their business. But this border remains closed. And this is a very serious challenge for us. Not just for people. Yenga is a very small town. Not just for people, residents here in Yenga, but then also for the entire country, Sierra Leoneans. Many people used to come through this end to get to Guinea to do their business. So if the border remains closed, it means the economic repercussions will continue to be very, very telling. And so we are very much concerned as a commission that is responsible to protect and promote human rights of all. We want to ensure, this is part of what we call economic rights. We want to ensure that the authorities in Guinea, see reasons why they should actually open this border. I'm sure also people from across, from Guinea are also very much concerned. The traders, the business people.
The old robbers are stuck right across.
Exactly. I can also see the same containers you now see on the Sierra Leone land, and the jerry cans. They are also, I'm also seeing them right over there, from the Guinea side. So I'm sure they themselves want to resume their trade with Sierra Leone. So this remains a very serious problem. On the issue of Yenga, we have not actually, like I said, we have not seen. There are no military people from Guinea on our own soil. We have not seen any military personnel on our own soil. So we are going down because when we are coming, we saw, of course, if you like, the security checkpoints. So we'll be going back and talk to our security guys that are there. So we're going to talk to them and listen from what they have to tell us, their own experience over these last 2 weeks staying here. We are able to cross over to Guinea. We have just had a very successful meeting with security personnel of Guinea. In fact, luckily, Moa River Union branch in Conakry was actually part of the meeting. So we had a very successful meeting. The personnel, the colonel who is actually commanding this area, was very much receptive. Well, all of them, they received us in a very, very peaceful manner. We discussed.
Merci. We're going to open, we go buy something small to eat. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is where Guinea is claiming the boundary should be. You could see clearly they are trying to re-establish this boundary. But what they told us when we went there, that the boundary was somewhere the road is being constructed right now. But they have come this end so that the construction of the road will not be interrupted. So they are now establishing that this is the boundary between Sierra Leone and Guinea, or this is supposed to show the demarcation for the buffer zone. And you can see that this one was put by them, but there's some conflict around the re-establishment of this boundary, or this so-called boundary, by putting this pillar. And so the work has stopped. That is where it is right now. We have just come to the location.
The fact-finding mission that the Commission undertook on the 28th of January 2021. And that fact-finding mission has to do with the Yenga border conflict and the continuous closure of the border. And so the Commission has now compiled and documented its findings together with recommendations. Therefore, the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone will now take you through a very succinct press statement for all of you to help us disseminate to the entire country. Thank you very much. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, let me now usher in the astute chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone, Mrs. Patricia Nasudanema.
So I'll just directly read the press statement from the Commission as we have written it. The Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone came into being following recommendations from the Lome Peace Agreement and reports from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. In 2004, government, by an act of parliament, accordingly enacted the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone, which gives the Hrcsl a primary responsibility to protect and promote human rights of all in the country, devoid of region, ethnicity, sex, religion, association, etc. In this vein, Hrcsl also serves as a peace-building infrastructure. The Yenga community alleged through a voice message sent on WhatsApp that Guinean soldiers had crossed over to their town to claim it. They therefore gave government, through the same voice message, an ultimatum to act fast and stop the Guineans, otherwise they would take the law into their hands. This reopened fresh discussions on the media over the Yenga border conflict, which many Sierra Leoneans had thought it had long been resolved. Hrcsl viewed such threats as an early warning sign for conflict, and therefore on the 28th of January 2021, dispatched a team to undertake a mission led by the Vice Chairperson Idrissa Lansana, ASQ, and Commissioner Hassan Sambayaja to Yenga, and also had to cross over to Nongowa, the border axis of Guinea, by means of a canoe. With the Guinea border remained closed, the team also investigated the impact of the continuous closure. Accordingly, Hrcsl engaged stakeholders separately on both sides of the border and did a conducted tour of the border areas, the Yenga community, and the Pengu Bengu Check Point. From these engagements, Hrcsl has documented the following findings. On security concerns, there is no security at the Sierra Leone border along the Moa River, as opposed to the Guinean counterpart, who have a huge military presence at the foot of the border, Moa River. Security presence on the Sierra Leonean part is also found at the Pengu Bengu Check Point, which is about 5 miles away from the actual border crossing point. Even at the Pengu Bengu Check Point, security presence is very low. Residents of Yenga community complained of intimidation and harassment from Guinean security personnel. There is no Guinean military occupation of Yenga. The Guineans only crossed the border to come and erect a beacon that was destroyed as a result of the road construction. The Guinean personnel consider the area where the beacon is erected as a buffer zone and are determined to prevent anyone from meddling in that area. On issues around economic and social rights, there is no presence of any school, health, and market facilities in the Yenga border axis. Residents complained that sometimes they are prevented by the Guinean authorities personnel from using their land for farming and other agricultural purposes. Residents complained that they are normally asked to pay dues by the Guinean authorities to enable them undertake cross-border trade. Residents complained of extortion by Guinean security personnel during the period of restriction of movement of persons across the border. Residents complained that the Guinean security personnel demolished the only primary school in the Yenga village. On issues around development rights, government of Sierra Leone has commenced road construction from Kenema town to the Yenga border axis. Residents complained that Guinean security personnel did not allow the erection of the street solar poles, which had been brought by government and partners to provide light to the community and its environs. We made a few recommendations. Hrcsl notes that these infringements contradict both national and international laws. For instance, Section 1 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone 1991 provides that Sierra Leone is a sovereign republic, which means that any encroachment or interference into its territory is an act of aggression, and it negates the enjoyment of fundamental human rights and freedoms. Also, Part 2 of the Constitution and other relevant statutes and policies guarantee the enjoyment of economic, social, and cultural rights. Additionally, Article 1, 1, and 2 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights provides that all persons have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural developments. All persons may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law. In no case may a people be deprived of its own means of subsistence. In light of the above, Hrcsl makes the following recommendations: that the government of Sierra Leone should employ with almost urgency diplomatic channels to resolve the Yenga border conflict once and for all. Increase security personnel at the Pengu Bengu Check Point. Deploy security personnel at the mouth of the Moa River, which is the colonial boundary between Sierra Leone and Guinea from that end. In the long term, erect permanent structures around the border axis in a bid to make it an economic hub. As a matter of urgency, provide social amenities including schools, health centers, markets, and a community center in Yenga. Hrcsl calls on the Yenga community, especially the youths, to desist from using any violent means to claim their rights over the Yenga territory. The Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone remains committed to the promotion and protection of human rights of all in the country. Thank you.
The Human Rights Commission was part of the delegation that went to Guinea, or you went there independently to do your own investigation? Thank you.
I work with AYB. My concern is, this is not the first time we're hearing of your findings regarding the Yenga issue. I believe during the past government, the Human Rights Commission here also did similar things. They went there and then came out with reports. So now you've gone, you've done your findings, and you've got your report. Is that the end of your work? Or are there other means you are going to explore to ensure that government actually gets this Yenga issue to an end? Because we do not want these reports only to be read here to journalists. We hear them on our TV and radio stations or newspapers, and then they become dusted on your shelves. We want them to be reacted upon. So I want to know exactly the other measures you will take after what you've just done. Thank you.
On Star Television. Ma, few questions I wish to ask. One has to do with the actual ownership upon your visit. Who owns Yenga? Because this has been a long issue of Sierra Leone and Guinea. And we are friends, your families are here, our families are there. From your visit, I really want to know if Yenga is our property or if Yenga is the property of Guinea, just so the issue will be addressed. And on the concerns of our family members, Sierra Leoneans who are at Yenga for the time being, I also want to know, why are they treated in such a manner? Have we gotten the side of the Guineans, or maybe we are yet to have the position of the Guineans? Because for an individual to be treated in such a manner, he or she may have, maybe some other things are involved to some large extent. But devoid of that, the snail pace at which Sierra Leoneans or governments do handle issues is another serious concern, because the issue of Yenga should not be addressed as far as snail agendas are concerned, because we're sure to have this issue to be addressed maybe in the next 6 months or a year. That is how governments do things. As far as Yenga is concerned, it should be addressed as soon as possible. I'm sure those are the concerns I would like you to please address.
Somebody asked, okay, let me start with the last person who asked whether, or who owns Yenga. There was a question on who owns Yenga. So the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone has actually done investigations. I mean, we have gone on the premises itself. We have seen, we have spoken with people. But over and above that, we have also read several documents that show clearly that Yenga belongs to Sierra Leone. It is actually part of Sierra Leone. As a matter of fact, documents we have seen, we have read, it is the Makona River that is the colonial demarcation, that is the colonial, distinction between, or border between Sierra Leone and Guinea. So yes, clearly, from what we have, from documents we have seized of, Yenga, the community Yenga, actually belongs to Sierra Leone. But then it is actually a matter of, border disputes. You know, border disputes sometimes can go as far as international court. So, but for us, that is what we have for now. Even the residents of Yenga told us that yes, indeed, this has been their own property as Sierra Leoneans. They have been there for the longest time. I mean, even before you and I were born. Somebody else asked the question. You went further to say, why are Sierra Leoneans treated in such manner? Whether we have engaged the other side, whether, we have engaged the Guinean people. Yes, of course, when we went on this fact-finding mission, we crossed over, if you listen to the chairperson when she was reading out the statements, we actually crossed over, by means of a canoe to the other side and engaged the military personnel that are actually there. There were over 50 of them. They had their commander whom actually led them in that meeting. So yes, we have done the engagement, we have spoken to them, But above that, we realized that because of the economic activity that you see around Yenga, you see around the border, that is why, I mean, there is always this encroachment from the Guinean side. But then, of course, it's something that we have to engage government on. And in fact, that leads me to the question that, what next? I mean, the Human Rights Commission, at least for this new set of commissioners, this is a different regime. This is a different trajectory. We don't just go out there, we risk our lives, I mean, get information and come back and sleep. No, 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 no. What we do, we engage the appropriate authorities. And for this one also, we are going to do the same. We are going to engage government and other stakeholders to ensure that this dispute comes to an end. And it's not only about disputes, in fact. I mean, a lot of people are just thinking that it's about the disputes about the border. But over and above that, there are several other issues that we are concerned about. Human rights issues. We've seen when we went there, we realized that indeed there is no school in Yenga, I mean, the Yenga community. There is no electricity there. There is nothing like I mean, a PHU, or I mean, there is nothing that you could actually say these people are enjoying from the national covers of Sierra Leone. So we are, in fact, I mean, grateful that the government has started sending some development by, for example, the road construction. But yes, there are several issues to discuss and to address over and above the conflict over the border. But let me bring in the chairperson to respond to some of the questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, just take it from where you stopped about issues of, what was it, end of the work. But I want to respond first of all to somebody who made mention about whether this fact-finding mission was done independently. Yes, it was done independently only by the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone. And then when they went into the field, they had to do other engagements. But I want to draw your attention, I mean, this is just for information, that September last year, the African Union had its 4th policy forum. And the theme for the 4th policy forum organized by the African Union was silencing the guns in Africa, and then the role of national human rights institution in ensuring that that happens. And some of the issues that actually came up was, one, national human rights institutions are supposed to be very proactive in identifying, I mean, potential conflicts before they blow up. And then secondly, the Commission also has a role based on the policy document that we are supposed to investigate, monitor, document, and engage appropriate authorities. So that is really what we've done. And we are not going to leave this particular, I mean, findings hanging like that. We are going to actually hang up to the last one, which talks about engagement. We've also discussed that after this point, the Commission will be taking this particular document to the highest level in the country. Because from all the findings, this actually hinges on the enjoyment of human rights. We all know that the war actually happened in, where did it start? Somewhere in Kailong district, and then Bomaro in Kailong district, and it ended up in Freetown. So now we are seeing this one very small. So if the situation is not addressed, there are also potential that might filter in, and that we wouldn't want. We all know that when we had the war in Sierra Leone, what happened? I mean, were we able to enjoy rights? We had a right, but we were not able to enjoy them. So from the level of point of view of the Commission, we're actually taking this one forward. And I also want to use this opportunity again to apologize to the guy who made mention about time. The Vice Chair has said so, and will also try to work on that. Okay, thank you.
This outfit you are seeing here, there is a Guinean outfit as well. I mean, Human Rights Commission, I mean, Independent Human Rights Commission of Guinea. But also, there is Moa River Union. That, in fact, when we went there, they were there. I mean, they received us. There is also this organization called Makona River Organization. Their president was there. In fact, she helped us with the interpretation, whilst the Guinean people were, I mean, communicating in French, we are in English. So the president of the Makona River Association actually did interpretation. So yes, we are working with these people, with these structures, to ensure that we bring these issues to an end. Somebody talked about whether the Commission is thinking of presenting this case before an international court. You know, the Human Rights Commission, in the first place, this is very legal. The Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone Act of 2004, it is not so clear that the Commission can take a matter on behalf of the state when it has to do with human rights. So, but there's a way out. I mean that is not the end. The good news is government can pursue this as far as any international court. So yes, clearly, government, Human Rights Commission, if need be, would even advise government to go as far as that. But we are very hopeful that with the engagement we are seeing, government has sent a high-power delegation to meet the president of Guinea We understand also that they will also be sending over their own delegation. In fact, the two presidents will be actually meeting sometimes, probably, in the nearest future. So we are very hopeful that this matter will be resolved. And in fact, ECOWAS also has been alerted with this issue. So that is how, so far, we... Yes, thank you very much. So let us have the next set of such records. We don't have, I'm sorry, we don't have such a record. Yes, well then let me have the memory of the institution to respond to that specifically.
By right, A and C cannot talk internationally. Where no, what I'm talking, where A is, C cannot come here to talk.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. So that is the level. They are just coming up. Few years ago, again in 2016, 2017, when Liberia was in that same status, Liberia, OSHR had to recommend Liberia to come to Sierra Leone, to understudy Sierra Leone to ensure that they get A status. And they came here, they understudied us, and that same year they got A status. So now Liberia and Sierra Leone can talk as national human rights institutions. But with Guinea, we cannot talk. So that's take, for instance, the Berlin Wall. When was it dissolved? In 1989, right from 1948. So you check the number of years from 1948 to 1989. The Bakassi Peninsula, okay, the Palestinian border, all right, and even here, the DR Congo and Congo Brazzaville, look at all of these words. So they are so littered, Ethiopia, Eritrea, all of these, they are so littered, they don't end one day, you understand? Granted that maybe Berete might have come on the radio and said this, fantastic, that was a very fantastic, brilliant idea. But today, there are other issues that are cropping up, and those issues are there. And let us not forget that state-state relations are always state-state relations. Our concern as human rights institution is the human rights issues. That is why if you even read our press release, our focus is on the human rights issues. Right to education, right to economic livelihood, sustainability, and those kinds of things. Social security in terms of hospitals, and all other things, all right? We just talk about this because we want to prevent it. It is good to prevent conflict, and it's also good to prevent human rights things from happening before they come and actually happen. So we are using our preventative mechanism to ensure that we prevent this. And before I leave, let me make a quick clarification. When I said A and C does not talk, it doesn't mean that they can't talk. But what I meant that is that when we are in, for instance, when A statuses meet like this, still cannot come there. That's the point.
Rises, gentleman from the media who was asking about Yenga, undisputably, and I say this, undisputably, by any stretch of the imagination and legal provisions, Yenga is legally bona fide part of Sierra Leone. That's not in dispute. Again, let's get this clear. And that's why you see some of these are high-level national engagement. We have really done great work. Our information as the principal advisor to the government of Sierra Leone on human rights issues, this report will inform the government, meaning this will be part of their own briefings before they engage with the Guinean authorities, so that they know that some human rights violations are there and our people need to be protected. Let's look at it from that. Its use, its value, the value addition is bringing both to us as a people and as a country, and of course the state. Okay, but as media people, again, I was once in the media. I mean, some of you maybe we have met. We started Eastern Radio in Kenema, okay? So as a journalist, you do some preliminary investigations, but undisputably, Yenga is part of Sierra Leone. We all know some of the history point towards during the war, when Guinean forces entered Sierra Leone using Kailaun all the way to Daru. So going back, these are some of the, we're still suffering from the war. I want to say these are some of the effects of the decade-long civil war. If we didn't have the war, we will not be talking about the Yenga issue today. Trust me. So thank you.
Yenga now that bring the conflict between Sierra Leone and Guinea. Then what will be your response if one may say it's because of the conflict that urged the Human Rights Commission to urge the government to bring development in that area?
That's the common.
If someone says it's because of the conflict that makes the Human Rights Commission now to make recommendation to the government to bring development in that area.
Any other?
James Kamara. I know now.
As far as freedom of movement is concerned, it's said to be a constitutional right, though there are limitations. And the limitations which are attached to the freedom of movement has not covered what is happening inside Yenga for now. I stand to be corrected. The economy is disturbed. sorry to say we are a poor country, and most of our commodities, we do get them from Guinea. That is really being disturbed for now. How is the Commission addressing that side of the constitutional rights that has to deal with freedom of movement? And now it has been breached. We were told that the issue of Yenga has been laid to rest during the former president's tenure.
Like, just as Sierra Leone is a sovereign republic, Guinea is also a sovereign republic. So I have to state that there has been no limitation of freedom of movement within Yenga. The freedom of movement may go as far as crossing from Sierra Leonean border, from Sierra Leonean territory, into Yenga. That is the problem. And as a matter of fact, Guinea can decide to restrict that movement forever, if they so choose, because it is their own sovereign land. But because of diplomacy, because of the interconnectedness between Sierra Leone and Guinea, the diplomacy, diplomatic relations and everything, of course, the two governments may agree in reopening that particular place. But it is not also true to say that Sierra Leone depends so much on Guinea, so much so that it seems as if there is nothing that Guinea will want from Sierra Leone. No. If you go to Yenga, that border, you see that indeed many of the things that Guinea actually will use community-wise, they are getting that from Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone actually is contributing so much in the Guinean, towards the Guinean economy. So I mean, it's very clear that the Sierra Leonean community in Yenga are allowed to move about. However, I have to state, and this is very important for for our engagement that we have to do with government, the people actually told us in Yenga that there are sometimes when the Guinean military will intervene into Yenga, and then they will even intimidate them in making use of their land. So I mean, that's a very serious issue for us. So yes, these are just the responses to your question. Somebody was asking about are you sensing something? No, come on, listen. The Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone actually, if you like, is a peace infrastructure. The recommendation came from the war. After the war, even during the war, there is a Lome peace agreement. That Lome peace agreement clearly suggested or recommended that there should be a national human rights institution. From there, going forward, there was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which also recommended strongly that because there was no national human rights institution, that was why, the rights of Sierra Leoneans were trampled upon with impunity. And Sierra Leoneans could not have the opportunity to take their complaints to any national institution to defend them, to defend their rights. That was why they recommended strongly that there should be a national human rights institution, hence the formation of the Sierra Leone Human Rights Institution. So fine. Now, going forward, if we sit down and see, that there is some glimmer of conflicts coming, we cannot wait until, for example, the security personnel in Guinea were just saying, go to Yenga and overpower Yenga and probably even arrest them or detain as the case may be. So if we have actually got that information, that there has been some incursion or encroachment, we have to zoom in and try to ensure that we urge our government to take the appropriate actions in resolving the matter. That is why we went there. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Vice Chair. Now let me just draw your attention. Somebody made mention about limitation of rights. I think, was it you? Yes. About limitations of rights. Just to get it clear, that human rights cannot be fully enjoyed. Your rights can be suspended, they can also be limited. But just also to make it further clear, that around the Yenga community, whether rights were limited or not, we don't consider that as a violation. Because Section 18.1 of the 1991 Constitution gives everybody the free will. And we've not had any situation where Sierra Leoneans in Yenga or military officers in Yenga actually prevented, residents of Yenga to do so. This has to do with the crossing points. So we do have to make that very clear.
Somebody has just sent in a late question. Let me just squeeze this one in. Why did the Guineans cross over to seize Yenga? If you have gone to that place, the crossing point is like a melting point, economic-wise. there has been several engagements in terms of trading. So Yenga is a strategic community. But by the way, we have to make it clear. I'm sure a good number of you have not actually gone to Yenga. Yenga, the community Yenga itself, or the village, is far removed from the border crossing points. Far removed. So it means when you leave Yenga, the village itself, you have to go like 2 miles off before you can actually get to the Makona River that separates the two countries. So it tells you that because there are several economic activities going on there, you always have the Guineans to come in. And you've heard from Dr. Abes.
We've let Sierra Leoneans hear a lot of things free of cost. We appreciate you for that, and we continue to thank you in that regard. Once more, I want to thank you all for coming.